this tea is going to be really hot. Happy February, people. Welcome back to 10 out of 10. It's your girl Tina with some extra hot tea for this episode of Tea with Tina. I hope your month has been filled with so much love. Mine has definitely been steamy. I'm just kidding. So for this Valentine's Day, I was single, and it got me reflecting a lot about my past love life, my exes, and how much I've grown since then. And I wanted to share what I've learned with all of you. Now, some of you may already know this stuff. In this case, just take this as your gentle reminder from someone who loves you, because we all need that little reminder sometimes, you know? And if you're not in a romantic relationship or have never been in a romantic relationship, that's okay, because everything that I've learned, these are also things that you can resonate with your relationships with your family members or your friends. So grab a fresh cup of hot tea or hot chocolate or whatever hot beverage that you want, and let's cozy up and let's have some girl talk. Here are 3 major lessons of love that I've learned from my exes. Just a disclaimer, this video is not to talk badly about my exes, but really just to share my side of the story and what I've learned so far when it comes to love. And all I hope to come out of it is just a reminder that you are not alone if you are going through a love lesson yourself. And if you've never been in a relationship before, then please learn from my mistakes. Alright, let's get started, shall we? So, my first boyfriend and I were really young when we got together. I was 14 at the time, he was 15, and we were best friends. We spent so much time together with our other group of friends, so when I found out that he liked me back, I was really excited. Oh my gosh, I was a little too excited. I mean, this was my first boyfriend, you know? I wanted to do all the lovey-dovey stuff that couples did in the movies. What I learned from this relationship was that there is absolutely no need to rush a relationship. Looking back, I realized how young I was. Like 14 years old is extremely young. And I was already thinking at the time, like, yo, this is a man I'm gonna marry. And wow, how awesome would it have been if we all just married our first love? You know, no heartbreak, no drama. It sounds like a dream. But I realized the best lessons when it comes to life comes from heartbreak. And the reality is, we don't always get to marry our first love, and that's okay. But with loving someone at whatever age you're at, or whatever relationship you're in, comes with boundaries, emotional and physical boundaries. And so lesson 1 is guarding your heart. Guarding your heart is exactly that, boundaries. And you might ask, what are boundaries? What are the boundaries that I should set for myself? That decision is completely up to you. What I've learned from this relationship, and honestly what I'm still learning right now, is what my boundaries are and actually sticking to them. It's not bending them or softening the boundaries when I really like someone, but really being firm in what my lines are and making sure that they don't cross them. Or, you know, if they do end up crossing the boundaries, it's communicating with them or even leaving that relationship, you know? So if you're single or entering a new relationship, or if you're already in a relationship, reflect on what your emotional and your physical boundaries are. If you have a partner, talk to them about it. It's really important to talk about topics like this with your partner. If your partner thinks that talking about boundaries and things like this is really lame, or such a waste of time, or doesn't agree with your boundaries, then it's time for lesson 2. Lesson number 2 is to love yourself. Love yourself, girl. This means prioritizing yourself first, and it means taking care of your peace first. This is a lesson that I am still learning to this day. My second relationship, my love for myself was almost inexistent. My second boyfriend was the coolest dude to me. He was a musician, he was a singer, he was tall, he was at the time my dream guy, and because of that I was so insecure. I kept thinking to myself, who am I to deserve this guy? And I think my insecurities were so strong that it was really the downfall of my mental health. It resulted to me becoming that clingy girlfriend that all men try to avoid. It's so embarrassing to admit, but it was true. Like I kept seeking validation from him where I could easily have found within myself, asking for him to love me in ways that I could only really love myself. And that experience for me was so scarring that it literally took me up to this year, actually no, not this year, it took me up to 2020 to finally get the professional help I needed. So Tina, tell me what loving yourself looks like. Well, to me, it was finding the professional help I needed. It's being firm with the boundaries that you've set from lesson 1. It's leaving a relationship when you feel unsafe or unheard or unloved. By leaving a relationship, I mean any type of relationship, not just romantic. It's leaving friends that make you feel unloved. Loving yourself is finding worth within yourself from simply being yourself. It's looking in the mirror without makeup on and saying, I am beautiful. It's looking at yourself with makeup on, a full face of makeup on, and saying, I am beautiful. Loving yourself is indulging in your hobbies that you loved as a child but got too busy or too old to do it again. Loving yourself is finding qualities and characteristics about yourself that you like. Things that are not physical about yourself that you realize you like. I like how I am a good listener to my friends. I like how I can be really focused on a task for an hour straight without being distracted. Loving yourself is being in complete solitude and enjoying your own company. It's taking yourself out on solo dates. And I think only when we've started to really learn how to love ourselves and have a sense of self is when we are capable of being in a relationship. Because man, being in a relationship is not easy. That doesn't necessarily mean that if you are struggling to love yourself that you can't be in a relationship, or you can only love someone else when you've truly learned to love yourself. I don't really agree with that. I feel like we're always constantly learning how to love ourselves because we are evolving human beings that change ever so frequently. It takes time to really learn about ourselves and how to truly love ourselves. So I don't really fully agree that you can't love someone without loving yourself first, but I do think it's essential for you to start learning about yourself and start learning ways to love yourself, even just a little bit, because if you have no sense of self at all and try to be in a relationship, then you're kind of dependent on that other person to love you completely, you know? And I think that's when that becomes a little bit unhealthy. So again, not necessarily completely loving yourself, but just start to try to figure out yourself. Just start to get to know yourself. And I think that is the beginning of a way that you can learn to love yourself. Having a relationship with yourself is just as hard as having a relationship with someone else. And that is lesson number 3, love is work. I think any person who has had a friendship or a relationship longer than like even 6 months can say this. Loving someone is not easy. Having a significant other can sometimes be annoying. My 3rd relationship took a lot of work for the both of us. We were both still learning to love ourselves. We were both in our final years of university, trying to navigate through the early stages of adulting. And sometimes a lot of changes in your life and a lot of growth can lead to many arguments and many discussions where sometimes could be really hurtful. And there are many times in long-term friendships and relationships that you have to forgive one another. And sometimes it gets to a point where you're like, gosh, how many times do I have to forgive this person? I've asked myself that so many times. Well, if the person is worth it for you, and as long as whatever this person did to you isn't toxic, abusive, or harmful, then, well, you keep forgiving, you know? That's what the Catholic in me at least is saying. But I'm gonna say this again. If what they do is toxic or harmful or abusive, you can kindly let go of that person. All I'm trying to say is that a relationship isn't going to be butterflies in your stomach all the time. It's not going to be super kilig or super romantic all the time, or like I always want to hang out with you every single day. Hang up, no, you hang up first. Real love is work. When it gets tough, you work through it. You don't just give up. So When I say love is work, what can that look like? To me, it means choosing to love that person every single day. Even when sometimes you don't necessarily like that person, you still love them. It means using open communication to work through arguments, to work through disagreements, to work through difficult moments. It's listening to each other, it's validating how the other person feels, and it's being honest with your own feelings. Love is work looks like you humbling yourself. It's me humbling myself. It's knowing when I need to apologize, and it's letting the other person get their way over yours. It's also just balance. It's knowing how to love that person without forgetting to love yourself too. It's loving your significant other without forgetting that you have friends and family to love too. Love is work, and it's tiring and sometimes draining, but it's all the more worth it. And I think that's one of the biggest lessons I've learned so far, and it's a lesson that I'm definitely still and constantly learning. And if you're someone who's like me, who struggles with self-love sometimes and feelings of unworthiness when it comes to love and romance, one piece of relationship advice that I've heard that I want to share with you is this: be with someone who chooses you. Be with someone who shows you that they love you. And by showing love could mean so many different ways. You know that there's 5 different love languages. It might not be the way that you want to be shown love, but it could be just the way that they know how to show love. But regardless, it's the effort that counts for me. And what I want to tell you is that you are more than worthy of the love that you desire. Don't settle for less, and don't fight to be with someone who makes you feel like you deserve less, okay? So these were 3 lessons that I've learned from my exes so far. There were probably so many other lessons that I've learned from these past relationships, but these were definitely like the big 3. Thank you for listening. Please, please, please take everything I say with a grain of salt, because each person in each relationship is different. Everything might resonate, nothing might resonate. That's okay. Let's talk in the comments. What were your big 3 lessons of love? That's all I have for now. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Thank you for joining me in my little girl talk. Comment if you like these types of Tea with Tina videos, or let me know if you have any other suggestions or topics that you want to talk about. If you have any other suggestions for 10 out of 10 content, in the description box below there is a Google form that you can fill out. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and give us a thumbs up. Until next time, this has been Tina from 10 out of 10. Bye!